Hi, everybody. I'm 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗻𝗀𝗀𝗻. I'm the Corporate Vice President for Identity and Network Access. I do all our product management and identity security work. Thank you so much for being here today, both to you, those of you who are here in person and those of you who are joining us online. We really value your time. Thank you so much for taking the time out to come see our session. I realize we're right after lunch, but we have a lot of demos and cool announcements, so I think you'll be able to make it through the lunchtime haze okay. I always like every year at Ignite to kind of reflect back and think about where we've come from and how we got here. I feel it helps me get grounded and enjoy the Ignite more. So I joined Microsoft a long time ago. You might be able to tell from all the gray hairs. In fact, when I joined Microsoft, I wasn't even old enough to drink. I went to my first company party. I walked up to the bar, and they gave me a beer and didn't card me. I was like, yes. That's all it took. That's all it took. I've been here ever since. I know a good thing. But through that time, I've been at the company, I'm just finishing my 32nd year at the company. Through that time, we've had some unbelievable big shifts in technology. In fact, I joined Microsoft because I had seen Excel on the Mac in a business class and just thought that was the most amazing thing you could ever imagine. Like having come from Lotus 1-2-3 and then shifting over to a graphic user interface, and then a year later, Windows 3 came out, and I was just like, oh, I want to go work at that company. That is the coolest thing you can imagine. And that era, kind of the graphic user interface, that really, Windows 95 was the kind of the peak of that era when we just went worldwide. God, what an exciting time. I remember going to the launch event for Windows 95 and just feeling like, whoa, this is what it's like to change the world. Then the internet, really shortly after that, right? Then all of a sudden we had the next big wave. The internet, in fact, was already kind of going. I remember using the Gopher terminal from the University of Minnesota to try to find my way around. But then when browsers hit, right, then all of a sudden you've got another big wave of innovation that kind of swept the whole planet and eventually even led to the amazing cloud kind of resources that we have today. And then, of course, I almost cried when Steve Jobs pulled the iPhone out of his pocket at Macworld. I cried because I was like, why couldn't it have been us who pulled it out of our pocket? But I do remember just thinking, oh my God, here's the next big wave. Like, here's the thing that's going to redefine the way that we all work and the way that we live, right? So just these incredible waves of technology. And, not that long ago, that one, and now we're just on to what I'm sure is the next. Right, like the AI wave, right, is in fact, if anything, might be bigger than all these others. Right, like I think it is fundamentally different in some ways because the previous set of these technology waves were really about making humans more efficient. They took away a lot of friction. They made it easier for us to find things, easier for us to connect, things like that. But the AI wave is about making intelligence and making intelligence available more broadly and making humans smarter. And that is fundamentally different, right? Like we're in the business now of making the world more intelligent. And if you think, for the previous, however long you want to think about Homo sapiens being around, they keep pushing the time frames back, right? But, for the previous however long Homo sapiens have been around, if you wanted to make more intelligence, that meant having children and then investing in them for 18 to 22 years until they were like fully educated, and then you finally got like some useful intelligence out of them probably, right? And now we're headed toward a world where intelligence is going to be increasingly available in unbelievable quantities, right? In quantities we've never seen before. So think how different the last 100 years would have been if all of us were 10 times more intelligent than we are now, right? Like that's the era that we're headed into, one which is defined by this world of incredible, widely available intelligence in greater quantities than the world has ever seen before. It's going to be amazing. And in fact, it's one of the reasons I'm very excited about the work we just turned on in public preview, where you can now use Security Copilot in Microsoft Entra. Right, so you can use Security Copilot now to do analysis, in this particular case, right inside of Entra. We're showing you, Security Copilot is analyzing all of your failed logins and is showing you why they failed and what to do about it. Right, like, so rather than you having to dig through a bunch of screens and look at a bunch of log files and try to figure out what your conditional access policies were doing, no, Security Copilot just has the intelligence to tell you, look, here's the 18 failures you had, and here's why, and here's what to do about it, right? Just this incredible application of intelligence to make every identity admin smile and be a lot happier than they are today. And you know what? They need it, because the identity landscape is the primary way that hackers attack organizations today. This year, we had over 600 million attempts to attack one of the identities in one of the Microsoft cloud services. 99% of those are password attacks of some type, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's predominantly trying to go after a user based on guessing their password or stealing their password or something like that. But there have also been big increases in things like token replay attacks, and also a big rise in adversary-in-the-middle attacks, especially through phishing. This is the landscape before the attackers get really good at using next-gen AI. Just imagine what's going to happen when every part, in fact, this is already happening today, but just imagine what's going to happen when every part of their tool chain becomes AI-enabled, right? Like if you think you can train humans to not click on phishing messages that have been perfected by an AI bot, no, right? You can't, there's just no way anymore. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between a phishing email and a normal email, right? If you're thinking about how to crack passwords, right? Like the AI is way smarter about that kind of pattern recognition than we'll ever be, right? So we have to very rapidly get all of us out of the space of any kind of risk, especially identity risk. We're going to talk to you some about that before AI makes it just a battlefield. Now, luckily, we've been thinking about this for a while. In fact, if you were here last year, you'll remember I talked about the trust fabric. And this is really what Entra is all about. The ability to enable your organization to connect all of the resources and people and devices and identities that you need to in a way that is based in zero trust principles, right? Super secure, never trust an identity until you've authenticated it strongly. Only let a device or a user or a software object do the things that it's supposed to do right now, and make sure that you are always using that kind of least privilege principles, right? And applying that throughout the whole ecosystem of all the digital interactions that you want to have happening. That's what the Entra brand is all about. Secure access from any identity, from anywhere to any app, any resource, and now working really hard on any AI as well. How do we help you get ready for that world? So today, I'm going to walk you through kind of 4 ideas to help you get on the pathway to building your own trust fabric, right? And how you can use Entra to do that. So we're going to walk through this set of things and show you a whole bunch of demos and new features coming and things like that I think you'll find pretty exciting. So let's start with establishing your zero trust access controls. Probably the most important thing you could do today is to get your organization, if you haven't already, out of the mainstream of attacks, which are password attacks. This might be phishing attacks, this might be password spray attacks, this might be breach replay attacks. Right? We've got to find ways to get out of that risk pattern and into a much more secure space. So first, I'm happy to let you know that in January, we'll be turning on real-time detection for password spray attacks. This will be the first time we've got real-time risk scores based on detecting password attacks that you can use in conditional access. And this will give you the ability to automatically block and mitigate all of those attacks for any user who hasn't moved to a phishing-proof authentication method yet. However, I would suggest that we need to get to the phishing-proof authentication methods. You don't have very much time left. If you aren't planning to move to a phishing-proof authentication method this year, I would seriously encourage you to maybe rethink your security priorities. Right? We've got to get over to the far, I guess for you guys, the far right-hand column here, where everyone is using things like Windows Hello for Business. Like, that's been our premier experience since Windows 8. It is entirely phishing-proof. It uses the latest cryptography technology. It's really good. And we've taken that same technology and we've now used it for FIDO2 security keys. We can support certificate-based auth, which is very similar. We've done a whole bunch of work with the enterprise plugin, SSO plugin for the Mac and iOS that lets you get the same level of security there. I mean, basically, it's kind of like we've done Windows, or we've done Entra ID join for the Mac now, right? Make sure you take a look and start using that. And then lastly, the newest thing, we're going to show you this in just a minute, is passkeys in Microsoft Authenticator. So for those of you who aren't familiar, passkeys are the same technological approach we used in Windows Hello for Business. We've been working in the open standards community for years and years now, and they are finally available on iOS and Android as well. So this gives you phishing-proof, cryptographically secured authentication on all of the mainstream devices. And in our case, in the Microsoft Authenticator app, when you add that on to iOS or Android, it lets you bind the secrets, the keys that are being used to do the authentication to that specific device in its secure element, so it doesn't wander around through Cloud Sync and things like that. So device-bound passkeys are now generally available for both iOS and Android in Microsoft Authenticator. These meet the strictest security standards. In fact, this is the same level of security you would get with Windows Hello on both of those device classes. And it's super cost-effective and easy to deploy. Nothing additional to buy, no keys to lose track of. It's just a standard thing on a phone, right? Gives people a really, really easy, really secure experience. So to take a look at that, let's have Nichole Peterson come up. Nichole is one of the senior marketers on our team and is going to show us a whole bunch of cool stuff about passkeys.
Thanks, Alex. All right, so as an end user, I want to show you how easy it is to get the right demo up. There it is. OK, so I want to show you how easy it is using Microsoft Authenticator to have your workforce enroll in device-bound passkeys. All I do is I'll add a work or school account to my Microsoft Authenticator app. Let me go ahead and add my first account here. And what this will do for me is I sign in with my name, hit click next. Then my admin emailed me a temporary access pass, which is just for this one use, one time, so it's highly secure. I'll sign in with my temporary access pass. It's checking my organization policies, and then it's asking to create my passkey. So it's asking me, to give my consent to let Authenticator enroll and use my passkeys and password lists. And then I'm all set. Now within Authenticator, when I log in, I have all of my passwords and passkeys right there in a way that's portable for my mobile device. And I can also be able to use it to log into my PC at work as well. I can use the Face ID on my phone to be able to log in. And then there I have my passkey right there with my verified ID credentials and all of my passwords.
Yeah, it's just super cool, right? We've got, kind of world-class cryptographic secrets now, and we were able to get them onto that device. No need to buy an extra key, no need to worry about dongles or things like that. It just works right on your phone.
Yeah, and check this out. So not only was it that fast to enroll, it's so much faster to use. So we've got a side-by-side here. On the right is the old-fashioned way, using a password, which you probably will mistype or forget or get wrong. Whereas on the left, we have a passkey. So we did a user study showing that passkeys took on average of 8 seconds to be able to get in securely to your network, where on average, people who use passwords, it takes them 25 seconds. So that's 3 times saving in that. And not only is it faster, it's more successful. So it's a 98% successful sign-in rate with passkeys, 3 times higher than passwords. So it's faster, it's more successful, it's more secure, and it's easier for your workforce.
Yeah, it's just so cool. Right? It's very rare that you get a big security win that also improves end user success rates, right? Like, those don't come along very often. I'm just really excited about this. So, getting your zero trust controls in place. Look, if you heard anything from me, in fact, I've kind of been saying this for years now, but if you heard anything from me, please stop using passwords. Please stop, even if you're using passwords with some other MFA form behind it, that is not phishing proof. Get off of it. Get to phishing-resistant authentication however you possibly can. Once you do that, then make sure that you update your conditional access policies to require that people are using phishing-resistant authentication for anything that is high value in your organization. And then finally, I would highly recommend that you only allow access to anything that's important for your organization. Make sure you're doing it from a managed device that has Defender on it, so you know it's compliant and you know that it is malware-free. I think that is the most secure option. It's certainly the only way at Microsoft that we let people connect to anything from work. All right. So that's our first one, zero trust controls in place. Second, let's talk about how then you use these to enable secure access for your employees. So with that, I'm going to remind you, okay, so the Microsoft Entra suite, what's the value here? The first is it's the only suite that gives you, access suite that gives you the ability to have one place where all of your access policies are across network, across devices, and across identities are expressed, right? So no more needing to keep a separate device policy and a separate network policy and a separate identity policy. In the conditional access system, you can express one set of consistent zero trust policies across that whole estate for any of your resources that you need to get to. Second one, obviously, is we want to help you make sure that you're always ensuring least privilege access, right? And this is really what Microsoft Identity Governance is about, making sure that everybody has access to only the things that they should and none of the things that they shouldn't, that is automated when they join your organization, and then when they move jobs within your organization, we can automatically clean up and remove the things they shouldn't have anymore and give them the new things that they should have, and then when they leave, make sure that they're immediately removed from access. Right? That's a big deal. A lot of times people forget that you got to get the least privileged stuff in place. And of course, we're always looking to improve user experiences here and make them fast, simple, and easy to do. But maybe as exciting, now especially with Entra Private Access, we can help you reduce your on-premise footprint and replace that on-prem VPN infrastructure that you're running and give you not only a lower cost approach, but also an approach with much, much lower latency for your employees, so that when they are getting to your self-hosted applications, they'll just get a world-class experience because we are terminating their session at the Microsoft Edge and running it over our network backbone, so they get really fast, really local access to all of their applications. So with that, let's go ahead and turn it back over to Nichole.
Great. Yeah, so I'll show you about how the Microsoft Entra suite works together to be able to secure access to AI apps, because I've heard a little bit about AI here at this conference so far, so that's what we'll show you here too. Okay, so let's say that I'm, one of your end users, and I've heard about these cool new AI apps, so what am I going to do? Of course, I'm just going to go ahead and type it in here into my search bar and look for it. But it says, sorry, in really tiny letters, that the request has been blocked by Microsoft Entra Internet Access policies from my admin. So the admin is using enhanced web category filtering, which is now available in Microsoft Entra Internet Access, to block access to the whole category of AI sites right away. But let's pretend for a second, because we're here. Let's use the magic of Ignite to say, I just took a training class, and now my company says, OK, after you've done training on how to responsibly use AI, you can use it. So after taking my training class, I automatically am going to be able to get a verified ID that will allow me to request access to AI apps. So as I request access, it'll go through and verify my link here. So now this was through entitlements management, excuse me, in Microsoft Entra ID governance to make sure that I can only do this when I have training. So I'll go through and scan with my phone, with Authenticator, which I set up earlier with that passkey. Got the passkey. Let me go ahead and scan this QR code to be able to share my verified ID with Woodgrove to say, yes, I do have this training credential to be able to get AI apps. So there's my verified ID wallet. It sees that I am verified. I can type in a business justification here that, yes, hi, I do need access for apps, but it's automatic in case nobody's going to read it. So there we go. Now we have access. So this is part of our self-service access packages, And part of Microsoft Entra is your entire workforce has this portal to be able to do self-service access. And we can also look at all the apps that are provisioned for me as an employee through lifecycle management with Microsoft Entra ID governance. So now, because I have requested the AI apps, I have an AI apps tab. I can go ahead and look to see. Here's ChatGPT, and here is Datum AI. I'll go ahead and click on that. And now what we'll see is that the admin actually created a universal conditional access policy so that first-time use of an AI app, regardless if it's on premises or in any cloud, actually requires a terms of use that the company Woodgrove wrote up to make sure that employees are using AI responsibly. Of course, Microsoft Purview would probably block any problems if we were sharing company information, but I'll go ahead and accept that terms of use as a user. And now I can start using the AI app to do my marketing research. So this AI app we actually built for this demo, and we did it with Azure AI Foundry, and it only took us like 1 day to build it, which was so super cool to be able to take all of the power of OpenAI and bring that in there. And so to get this information, of course, I could have asked Microsoft Copilot, but I didn't because I wanted to show you that Microsoft Entra is for securing access to any resource on any cloud or on-prem, in addition to Microsoft services, whether it's registered with Entra or not.
Awesome. Thanks, Nichole. So what Nichole showed you there was how we can use Microsoft Entra Internet Access, Microsoft Entra ID governance, and the Entra verified ID and all she did with this is all configuration. There was no code there, right? Just configuration so that you can protect your organization from, or the employees in your organization from using AI when they shouldn't, require them maybe to take some training, have them be able to certify that they completed the training, and then only once they've created the training, get them access to the approved set of AI applications you want them to use. Right, so a really cool use of the Entra access capabilities to protect your organization, but also to enable your employees to get the work done that they need to. Now I want to move on and tell you we've got some pretty cool news coming in the Entra suite, both in private access and in intranet access. So in the private access space, first available today already, we have a thing we call quick access policies. This makes it really easy to quickly roll out a VPN replacement for using the private access capabilities. Secondly, coming in December, we have a new capability we call App Discovery. This will go into public preview in December. So App Discovery will, once you have Entra Private Access running, will start showing you as the IT admin where all the applications your users that you are self-hosting actually use and register them for you in the Entra ID application manifest. Right, so you'll be able to start discovering applications, and then you'll be able to apply conditional access policies to those applications without, even if they don't authenticate with Entra. Right, so now you've got the ability to extend your conditional access policies and your zero trust model out to affect any resource. It could be a printer, it could be a file share, it can be any self-hosted application you're running either on-premise or in the cloud. Right now in public preview, we also have private DNS support so that you get consistent host naming both inside your corporate network and outside your corporate network. And then lastly, I'm excited to tell you we've turned on the public preview of connectors. These are our private access connectors, and they're now available in the AWS, GCP, and Azure marketplaces. And that greatly simplifies including those connectors in your standard deployments that you might be doing in any of those 3 clouds. Right, so if you've got a standard deployment that you're doing for, you're hosting some set of self-host apps in AWS, now right in the AWS marketplace, you can get the private access connector that you need to just include that in your standard definition of your deployment. On the internet access side, first of all, we've just turned on a public preview of our continuous conditional access evaluation. And this gives you the ability in real time to revoke sessions. So let's say you get a signal from Defender for desktop, Defender for endpoint, that a device has been compromised. You can now instantly revoke access from that device to the internet to make sure that it can't start uploading your corporate information to maybe a collection site or something like that until a point where you've had a chance to go figure out what's up with that machine and get rid of it or clean it up or whatever it is you're going to do. And then in private preview, we have TLS inspection. This is really the key for us to enable a much, much richer set of security features. The first one that you'll see out of this is the ability to do web filtering based on the full URL set for any user, rather than just the top-level domains. Those are both, the private preview, that'll go into public preview in Q1 as well. Then I'm also excited to announce a whole set of new partnerships. We're really creating a whole ecosystem of SASE vendors who are working with. So first, let me tell you about the really cool work that we're partnering with Netskope. So Netskope is building a set of components that will run inside of Entra Internet Access, and those will give you things like advanced threat protection and DLP protection inside of the Entra Internet Access capabilities. And then I'd also like to, I'm really excited about the work that we're doing with a whole bunch of SD-WAN partners. And what they are doing is, in fact, all of these partners have already completed the work. They've made it super simple to configure, to automatically configure the network at your branch office to automatically use Entra Internet Access. So you don't have to go through and do a whole bunch of manual updating of routing tables and things like that. They just have, in fact, they have templates, or in some cases, they've gone even deeper in terms of being able to monitor and watch all the traffic coming back and forth out of with Internet Access. Entra Internet Access. Okay, so now we've talked about secure access for your employees. Let's go on and talk about some of the cool new things that we've done and are coming in our secure access for customers and partners. Right? We now have one unified platform, right, for employee access, partner access, and customer access. That's the first time we've been working on this for years and years. Right? This became generally available at Build last year. Right now, we're just continuing to add more and more capabilities to it, but what's nice about this is all of the features you can use for Entra with your employees, you can use for Entra with your partners and your customers. So let's go ahead and get it back to Nichole.
Sounds good. All right, so I'll be showing you what we can do in our SIAM solution, Microsoft Entra External ID. So we've got a web-facing app here for consumers that uses all of their branding, but it has enterprise-grade identity security. So as the new customer comes in, we can sign in as a new customer. You'll see that we now have sign in with Google, or I can do my email address here. So it's asking me to go ahead and sign in. I chose Google, OK. Entering my password or using my Face ID, click Next. And then I can go about with my shopping after I get additional account details. And these are things that Woodgrove has elected to collect, including pre-filled promo codes, things like that, while keeping their customers secure. So I'll agree to the privacy policy, and then I'm in to do my grocery shopping. So first, I'm going to go in and buy some very expensive eggs that I'm going to add to my basket here.
Those are expensive. Wow.
Expensive, yeah. OK, and go and add a couple more things to my basket. And then as this happens here, adding in those bread and tomatoes, sure, it's just a demo. Let me go ahead and check out. An additional step is required. So like Alex was saying, it takes all the power of Entra ID, and so I'm actually seeing now step-up authentication within a consumer web app to say that, all right, you're spending more money, those eggs are pretty expensive, are you sure you really want to buy those expensive eggs?
It's the expensive egg check.
It's the expensive egg checker, yeah. So you'll see that we scrambled out the phone number identification here. Yeah, I bet you can't crack this code either. Let's see. So I'm verified with SMS authentication. And see, that was over easy. OK, no more jokes, no more jokes.
Are you sure you want to buy those eggs? Are you really, really sure?
Also in external ID, we now have native authentication for mobile apps. So it's really great that you can keep all of the branding that you want in your mobile application, all of that enterprise-grade security, but be able to do that while using all of your beautiful pixel-perfect brand that you'd like to. All right. It's going to be saving dev time, enhancing the user experience, and keeping you safer.
Yeah.
Let's switch back to Alex.
That last set of work that Nichole showed you is really different for us, right? Like instead of giving you a set of of UX with kind of templates and things that you can customize in terms of branding and stuff like that. Now you can just call directly to the API set and use the native forms and native experience of iOS and Android to give like that really picture-perfect experience to your customers. So in the world of our external ID, already available, obviously, like I said, this is the result of years and years of work of merging our consumer features into our employee platform. So one enterprise-grade platform, distributed all around the world, high availability, all of those benefits from the work that we've done over the years in the core of Entra ID, now available in external ID, native authentication for mobile apps, as I was just telling you, the ability to call directly to the API and use native UX forms on iOS and Android is now available. In December, you'll see us turn on logging in with Google, Facebook, Apple ID, or any custom OIDC connector. And then finally, early in 2025, you'll see us turn on the integration of our verified ID capabilities, right? So that you'll get the ability to take government IDs, European IDs, things like that, and a whole slew of identity verification vendors will be joining us as well. So look forward to that coming in early 2025. Okay, last, hey, let's take a quick look. Like, one of the things we pride ourselves on is making sure that Entra, it works across all your clouds, not just the Microsoft cloud. Right? We want to make sure that you're getting great help securing everywhere, not just with us. And so let's have Nichole take a look at some of the cool recommendations and things that we can do now to help you secure your applications everywhere.
Yep. So as an admin, using the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, I'll show you some of the ways we've made it easier. So here, if I go to my Health tab, for example, I can see my 5 nines. I can also switch to the new GA of scenario monitoring, which shows me scenarios that I used an API that's now in public preview to be able to generate alerts based on advanced detection algorithms. You'll see I can infer the scope of these based on health metric data streams, how many entities were impacted, and then I can see here this application. I will go fix it, and then I'll edit and resolve that status with the magic of Ignite. It's all better now. And then we can be good with our health check-in. I hope you've all seen What's New, which is also now in general availability. It allows you to see all of the upcoming roadmap items, public preview and GA, as well as change announcements. So you don't have to write these down or go to a blog, although please still read our blog. But I can filter these by what has actions necessary for me or not. So it's a really easy way to be able to see all of the change announcements, all of what's new, and plan your roadmap. Back on the Microsoft Entra Admin Center homepage, if I scroll down, this is one of my favorite things here. We've elevated the identity security score and top recommended actions that are based on your tenant right here. So I see remove unused applications, and let's open Copilot to give us help. So I can summarize, there's some easy prompts there, but what I'm going to do is show me the unused apps, because it's recommended that I show unused applications.
Yeah, this is something that we learned in our Secure Future initiative, was how important it is to go through and clean up all of your unused applications. At Microsoft, we had a gigantic number. How many number did we end up cleaning up?
Over 700,000.
700,000 unused applications. That's just unneeded attack surface, right? So I would encourage you to go in and take a look and see, can you use Security Copilot to remove your unused applications?
So I see all of the unused applications, over 4,000, and I'm kind of curious, like, who are the owners of these? Like, what's going on with this level of risk we have? So I asked Copilot, who are the owners of these apps? It gives me all of the owners here. That guy, 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 app. But it'll go through and give me a tour of what I need to find, a lot easier than if I had to go look each of these apps up by myself. So it gives me a summary here and lets me know that I can assign owners, but I think what I'd rather do is let me just go ahead and ask Copilot, well, how do I delete these, right? Because Copilot not only can bring you information, it can get you the information you need from docs right here within your Copilot window. So it shows me how to remove these unused applications things I should consider ahead of time to be able to find out what to do with this app, how to delete them. And then you'll see the other thing it starts to do is give me snippets of PowerShell commands that I can actually just copy-paste right into PowerShell to be able to take action on these. So because these unused apps are really just an unnecessary attack surface, hopefully you don't have 700,000 of them like we did at Microsoft. And as you're looking at these, because of that surface, let's go back to that guy, Braden, because I'd like to investigate him as well and see how far this attack has spread.
He sounds suspicious.
He sounds suspicious, Braden. So under my Risky Activities tab, in Identity, Microsoft Entra ID protection, I can look at risky users, risky sign-ins. And when I click on the risky user, instead of just giving me a little basic amount of information, Copilot will actually pull the information about that risky user. And what it's telling me here, really small, is like, yeah, he's been consistent with the same IP address, but there's a lot of other stuff that looks fishy. And Copilot recommends to us that we create risk-based conditional access policies that will be universal for any risky sign-in, any user risk. When there's elevated risk, what do we want to do? We want to use phishing-resistant authentication there.
Yeah, so I think these are really great examples of how Copilot brings intelligence, right? So rather than me as an admin having to dig through tons and tons of log files and screens to figure out what's going on, and then get my head around, okay, what the heck is actually happening here? What do I do about it? Copilot just finds all that stuff for me, does the analysis, comes back and tells me what's happening, and recommends next steps on how to take care of it, right? So like I was saying earlier, that freely available intelligence, right, it's going to be amazing, right? Like the world is going to be way better off because of it. So Security Copilot in Microsoft Entra is now in public preview. You can see it running right on the right-hand pane of all the Admin Center. Enables you to very quickly find all that relevant information just by asking simple questions, right? Rather than digging through all kinds of screens and log files and MS Graph queries and stuff like that. You can automate all kinds of investigations for almost any kind of identity type. And troubleshoot and resolve questions way faster, like, why couldn't my CEO sign in? Right? Like, actually, I'm expecting a lot of, why can't my C star sign in? Right? And it can significantly increase the effectiveness and the efficiency of your help desk and your identity admins. In fact, we've done a study, an econometric study, where we saw that people using this sign-in troubleshooting task were able to resolve those issues 46% faster, and they were 47% more accurate while doing so. Right? So pretty big, pretty measurable improvements in human capability from augmenting it with a really cool Security Copilot AI. Okay. So with that, we've now walked you through a bunch of cool demos, a whole bunch of interesting product news, and some recommendations on how to go about securing yourselves, and maybe hopefully some ideas around things you could take away and do right now, like getting to unphishable authentication, please. Right? So get your zero trust access controls in place if you haven't already. Think about how you can apply the new capabilities of the Entra suite for your employees. Hopefully, you'll look at using the same set of capabilities for your customers and partners, particularly if you have guest users for Microsoft Teams. I would recommend looking at our governance capabilities for how you're going to clean up a whole bunch of mess where you've got Teams guests who maybe shouldn't be there anymore. And then lastly, thinking about how you're going to use us to secure access to any cloud, not just the Microsoft cloud. Right? We want you to have that one control plane, that one trust fabric that you're building for your entire estate, whether that's your self-hosted, I've taken to calling this my self-hosted estate, whether that's on-premise or in the cloud that you've lifted and shifted, or any of the cloud resources or SaaS apps that you're using. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Nichole.
Yeah, thank you all for watching here in the room and online. A blog that captures all of the announcements we made today is there up on the screen, Ignite 2024/Entra. We also have an offer now for a 90-day free trial of the Entra suite. So that's really exciting. Hope you can get there and practice a bunch of the stuff we showed you today. Hope you'll meet us, of course, at the expert meetup or in one of our other sessions. And of course, we'd also love to know how we did today. So while you're enjoying your comfortable chairs, remember that you enjoyed the egg jokes, the puns. And go ahead and give us a rating. We'd really appreciate it. We work for you all. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all for your time.